Hi guys, there are two passages and several short sentences about writing that I found very interesting. In the 6th page of the PDF, the first passage says, the fundamental act of revision is literally becoming conscious of a sentence. And this is very relatable to me, and I'm sure to many others as well, because I am actually revising my second essay. And even though yesterday we were actually taught how normalization verbs and adjectives affect the structure and meaning of your writing, even before then, I found myself using repetitive ideas in more than one sentence, and also leaping through conclusions and not really observing and reading over the evidence that I needed to use to formulate a claim. So the reason to why that is, Klinkenberg explains, is that we are so used to finding or figuring out a claim, usually a static thesis statement, through reading the text that we are asked to use to write a prompt about. And from that prompt, text, we would extract the author's idea, and we would then just reiterate what they're saying in form of judgment. And so because of that, he explains, we are so impatient because we were never really taught to actually take our time with our writing and actually let it sink in what the words are saying. And so because of this, it is hard for us to actually write well, because we're not conscious of what we're actually writing, and we're just putting words together as if we're actually going to construct a very well dish because of that. It's in a metaphoric form, putting ingredients all together and not really calculating how you're gonna do it will not lead to a very good meal. But writing and reading are both learning process. They actually work together. Klinkenberg mentioned this in the beginning of his book that we read a couple of days ago. And he says here in the pages that we're reading now that the reason to why we're having such struggle with both revising and actually writing our essays is because we're not taking it in mind that the writing that we're using, or the words that we're using, actually need to create some type of meaning, and they have to be used with purpose that would elaborate ideas instead of just putting words together unconsciously. And so he explains that the reason to why we have such a hard time with revising our essays and also writing them is because we have a hard time paying attention. We have a very short attention span, and that is because of our impatience. Because writing isn't just something that you can just put on paper. It takes a lot of work. Same goes with reading when dissecting what each passage says when you're going to formulate a claim to an idea, when you're analyzing a text. And so going on to my second passage now, since I kind of touched upon it, and it is in the 18th page, and it says, for a writer, the word flow is a trap. And this I found very interesting, because I always grew up with the idea that writing has to flow. Like, everything has to connect to each other, and the beginning and the end kind of just have to go in circular motion, and you kind of have to start and end the same way. And this is basically saying that this is not true for writing, but it is true for reading. Reading has to flow, because the way you're writing has to be structured in a way that it is in order. That whatever you write in the introduction, every paragraph brings an idea that leads you to your conclusion. Well, to your more evolved statement, I guess. Most evolved statement. And so Klinkenberg says that this belief that you have to write in a flowing manner is actually what causes people to have writer's block, because when they encounter ideas that may be ambiguous, they kind of panic, because they have this idea that their interpretation has to be relatable, that their writing, their ideas that they're bringing out has to all be similar to each other. And Klinkenberg is saying that this is not true, because this actually impedes many writers to share their ideas, and actually bring all the ideas that could be plausible in a text to be expressed. Because if you're making a writing that flows, then you're just going back to the idea that you're pursuing or trying to find the meaning of the text, which we all know that isn't true. There isn't just one meaning to a text, or to a writing. There can be more than one, and sometimes they may not correlate to each other or be similar to each other. So yeah, that is it.